So today we're diving into this huge clash happening in Kenya. A brand new, really powerful cybercrime law gets signed by the president, only to have the High Court slam on the brakes just days later. This is a real showdown between national security and digital freedom. And we're going to break it all down. What's in the law, why it got stopped, and what this all means for the future of the internet in Kenya. All right, so let's jump right into the most dramatic part of this story. The exact moment this new law was brought to a screeching halt.
And this is really the central question, isn't it? A law goes through all the hoops, it gets the president's official signature, and then, boom, it's frozen. What on earth could happen to trigger such a fast and forceful legal challenge?
Well, the answer is all about this one legal move. The High Court issued something called conservatory orders. Just think of it as the court hitting a giant pause button. It means, right now, nobody can enforce any part of this new law until the court gets a chance to hear the full case against it. And this right here, this is the heart of their argument. The people who challenge the law, including the Kenya Human Rights Commission, aren't just saying they don't like it. No, they're arguing that it's fundamentally broken, that it's unconstitutional because it tramples on basic rights like privacy and free speech that every citizen is supposed to have. So you might be asking, why did the government push for this law in the first place? Well, to get that, we've got to zoom out and look at the bigger global picture. Because this wasn't just happening out of nowhere. And that brings us to the Budapest Convention. It's basically the first ever international treaty on cybercrime, a global rulebook, if you will. And get this, just a year before all this drama, Kenya was officially invited to join. So that was a pretty clear signal that the country wanted to get in line with these global cybersecurity standards. And this number, 96, it really shows you that Kenya isn't going it alone. They're joining this massive global effort. A club of 96 countries all working together to create a united front against cybercrime. Okay, so we've got the global context. Now, what's actually in this bill that's causing all the drama? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. And yep, this is it, the cover of the official bill. This single document is the ground zero for this entire debate we're seeing play out in the courts and, in public opinion. So if you look at what the bill says it wants to do, these are the main goals, and on the surface they look pretty reasonable, right? Fighting terrorism, cracking down on cyberbullying and scams. But as the critics are quick to point out, the real devil is in the details. And this is where things get really serious. Just look at these penalties. For cyber harassment, we're talking a fine of up to 20 million Kenyan shillings. That's over 150,000 US dollars or 10 years in prison. We're not talking about small fines here. The stakes for what you do or say online just got incredibly high. All right, let's dive into the core of the conflict, because this is where you see two totally different stories being told about the very same law. And this really breaks it down, right? On one side, you have the government saying, look, we need this for a safer internet to protect people. But on the other side, you have critics who are terrified, saying this is a direct threat to free speech and a tool to silence people. So why are people so against this? Well, their arguments boil down to a few key things. First, the language is just way too vague. What one person considers harmful could be legitimate political criticism to another. And they're especially worried about a new government committee that could block websites without even getting a court order. That, for them, is a huge red flag for censorship. And this quote, "the hallmarks of digital dictatorship." Wow, that really says it all, doesn't it? It comes from a religious group. And it shows just how deep the fear is. For them, this isn't just a bad law. It feels like a step towards a future where the government has way too much control over the digital world. So you've got a law that's passed, signed, but totally blocked by the courts. Where does that leave Kenya right now? And just look at how fast this all went down. We're talking about a bill being introduced, signed into law, and then suspended just 1 week later. The speed here is just incredible, and it's become part of the story itself. So that brings us to where we are today. The law is basically in limbo. It exists, it's officially on the books, but thanks to that court order, it has no teeth, no power. Everyone is just waiting for the High Court to hear the full case and make its final call. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This whole thing boils down to a fundamental choice. How do you balance the real need for national security with the fundamental right to digital freedom? This isn't just about one law. The court's decision here is going to shape the future of the internet in Kenya for years to come.